And we are back on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050, WTKA online at thebig1050.com. Seth Fisher is still with us as we get to the MGoBlog Roundtable. Craig Ross is with us as well. Good morning, Craig. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm on the disabled list, so we got 1.5 of us. Shout out to my Dr. Ben, who's like keeping me vaguely alive. So thanks, Ben. But I'll do my best. It
wouldn't be the same without you, Craig. We appreciate that. No Brian Cook today. He is under the weather. So it is the three of us to have a fun conversation, obviously focusing mainly on basketball. And let's just say we survived last night, guys.
Well,
no,
if you only watch the last 15 minutes of that game, it was domination.
Oh, was the last 14:03 was the best 14:03 that they played maybe in a couple of weeks.
I don't understand why. Who's the guy that they who's their center that they kept on pulling out? I gotta pull my notes back up again. From
whose center that they were pulling out?
Northwestern's. They had a guy with
Page.
No, Singleton's not a center.
No, wasn't Page the big?
I had my notes up and I dropped it.
They have Jake West, Singleton,
Martin. Jaden Reed's a guard, but the bigs were Kropp was a big, but the other big was Page played the most minutes.
Yeah, Page is killing us, right? And that guy, their offense is so much better with him on the court. It's night and day, right? And then he hits a three on us, and it's like, that was the one time I was really afraid because he was the only one who actually was getting anything on his own, right? He was getting to the rim. He beat Mara on a drive. He was marvelous. He had that step back that like they put down that you're like, okay, even if that's going down, we're in trouble. And they pulled him off the court. And like that's been Northwestern things all year. They're just mad at that dude. And so they're playing this other guy, Tyler Kropp, who's bogus, right?
He's their starter.
He's been their starter lately, but Page was the one who was playing earlier. Page is he was like a high 4-star or close to 5-star, went to USC, then he went to Cincinnati, and every coach he's had just hates his guts. And then he comes and you could see it. But like he was the only guy who could play on their team, and then the other guys are just canning bad shots, which to be fair, Nick Martinelli, that's what he does, right? You get him that little, that short mid-range, that 14-footer, that 16-footer, whatever it is, and he just kind of flips it in. That's been his game for years, right? He's a senior. We've seen that guy for ages. And that was the beginning concern, was that was going to give them a floor. But
Martinelli was 5 of 22 from the floor last night. So, that's
But he was like 5 of 6 to start. that was why it felt so bad.
Yeah, he was 2 of 12 in the second half. And obviously, even the splits aren't great, but most of his, I don't know, he seems to take a few shots with his eyes closed, they go in, and then they did make him very inefficient by the time the game was over.
Well, and I mean, when his pull-up threes go in, then you're really in trouble. But he was a 47% shooter coming into this game, but they were almost all assisted. I think he made 2 pull-ups all season. And like most of his misses are as long as you're guarding him out there, and I thought Michigan was doing a good job of that. And so I knew that guy was going to get some points, and that was fine. Reed is just a bugger, and West can get downhill, but he kind of needs a little bit of help to it. Singleton had a good game for him. I thought he was getting away with a lot of fouls. I thought Martinelli was getting away with a lot of fouls, and I think that was why I was ready to do crimes last night when the things got bad. We had the same official we had at Penn State, same official we had for UCLA in the Elite Eight years ago. Every game this guy is, we had him for Nebraska this year too. Every time we've had this guy, I think he's a Pac-12 dude. I see his face and like my skin crawls because I know we're just not going to get anything near the rim, and that was what was happening. They were just grabbing. And they finally called one of the hook and holds after he tried to call a foul, and then his partners had to undo it. And then what does he do? He undoes it by calling a technical on Mara for coming down hard when Martinelli stopped underneath. So, like, there were at least 4 or 5 hook and holds in this game. And the announcers picked up on a couple of them, too. And that's what they were doing. They were trying to, like, negate Michigan's ability to dominate them at the rim by yanking them down. And it's like, this can't keep on happening. This can't, like, someone at the Big Ten has to be watching some of these games and be like, I wonder what happened in this game and the Penn State game. And it's the same dang fouls. It's the same, like, jump on a guy's back when he's in the middle of rebounding, right? Holding his arm down against your chest and then jumping up on top of his back. I'm so sick of that. So anyway, that was driving me nuts. Their shooting was really hot, and then, Northwestern is a terrible shooting team, and the mean reverted on them. Michigan was getting all their shots at the rim. That mean reverted too. The bunny stopped, bouncing out. And, once they converted the bunnies to dunks, it was over.
Yeah, because the first half they were like 9 of 18 around the rim on dunks and layups or something like that. The number was absurd for a Michigan team that is obviously really good about finishing around the rim.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, if I could, take this game in context with the 3 that Michigan has had since we talked last. And I felt in the Ohio State game, or excuse me, the Penn State game at home, that Michigan played about as well as humanly possible. They came out and were completely relaxed. Dusty said on Monday that he felt their connectivity and chemistry was completely improved and was making major strides in that game. They ended up with 1.54 points per possession, which is an astounding number. Now PSU shot the ball lousy, but that's what they do. They shoot the ball lousy. And Cadeau came out, 8 assists, no turnovers. Really impressed with Cadeau's game. And also you saw some continual growth by Trey McKinney. And then in the next game at Ohio State is the number 80 defensive team. Not great, but not terrible. And pretty much did the same thing. Cadeau was 6 assists, 0 turnovers. And I thought Morrow was very good. I thought McKinney was very good. Thought Merez is Merez, which is always good. And I felt like this team is really coming on and is very connected and is improving. Hard as it is to believe, it seemed like this team is improving. So then they go to Northwestern, and it was absurd. They missed shots at the rim over and over in the first 25 minutes of the game, and that was maddening. I'm sorry. I also felt the Michigan guards did a terrible job of boxing out. We killed them on the offensive boards, but they got way too many offensive rebounds when the guards did not box out. And Cadeau was in a different world after playing 2 really strong games. He's making simple passes where he's not even looking at the guy. I'm not talking about a no-look pass in traffic. He's making a simple pass where he doesn't even look at the guy and it's turned over. They're throwing cross-court over-the-top passes that are into the stands. LJ, who actually was sort of a key driver, I felt, in this game in many respects, also made some mistakes that were just not understandable to me in the context of the game they're playing, that is basketball. And so Michigan, let's face it, they were terrible. Michigan was terrible for 25 minutes last night. Northwestern is an awful basketball team. And for them to come out and play that way, I think maybe it's just something that happens to all teams, because it does happen to all teams. But it was somewhat dismaying. And then at the end of the game, the last 13 minutes, I decide, I guess we better play some basketball. And then it looks like Michigan's playing against the 8th grade team. And that's what it looked like. And
45-17 over the last 14 minutes and 3 seconds is pretty remarkable split.
It was remarkable. And Kason all of a sudden looks like Jerry West, which he did for the last 13 minutes of the game. And McKinney, who has been pretty consistent, except for his 3-point shooting. But that's just the thing that he's going to improve on, and he'll get there. He's not a terrible 3-point shooter at all, but he's average right now. But his game is just jumping. And I thought Yax was pretty consistent most of the game. He was the one player, and you could say, okay, yeah, he just hung in there. The other thing that's remarkable to me about this game, I've been watching Big Ten coaches all year, and they're mostly all whack jobs. I mean, really, every single one of these guys is a freaking whack job. I mean, including Chris Collins, who I don't mind, but there was a play last night where Merez got called for a foul. And I went back this morning and I said, can I find this thing? I can't. And Merez is like, what? And I'm trying to find a foul there. I can't see even a touch on anybody, not on Northwestern, not on Michigan. No idea. And even on that one, Dusty's like, whatever. Let's just play the game. And who's yelling and complaining about that? Chris Collins. Chris Collins is out on the court yelling and complaining about a call on Merez that didn't even exist. I have no idea. The coaches in this conference are insane.
I think Collins was convinced that the call was against his own guy because Merez jumped in the air and plucked the ball out, and they were doing this all game. They were getting out jumped. So Merez jumps in the air to go pluck out the rebound. He gets to the ball first, and then their guy jumps underneath him. And I think that that's a thing that most officials will call, and they didn't call that. I didn't stop talking about that because I'm going to commit crimes if we keep doing that.
I don't want to talk too much about it.
I want to talk about the guards. I want to talk about the guards because Cadeau is basically
Seth out here ready to go ahead and commit crimes against humanity at this point.
I was so mad last night at times. I was so mad. I was watching at home alone, so it was just like slamming my fist on my desk, and it's a very hard desk, so it's okay. But I don't want to get
to the slamming.
I don't want it to be about that.
Is smarter than punching desks. I'm just saying.
I don't want the show to be about how mad I was last night watching the game. I want to talk about the game we saw after I rewatched it this morning and was a little more calm, knowing how it all ends. Yeah. Cadeau is unplayable for most of this game. He was just throwing the ball away. He was like those up court passes. How often are we hitting on those now? Because if it's not 1 and 4 turning into dunks, it's less than we're going to do in the half court set if we just chill it out. So I know that that's part of the game. I know that's how Michigan wants to play, but like if it's not going to work, you can't do it. And it's just been happening again and again. And they got, Northwestern was playing really physical, and they're jumping up and they're trying to intercept passes on the way in, and that's all they do is like they have like the length and unathletic guys who just stick their arms in the way and stuff. So Cadeau is turnover after turnover and bad turnovers, right? But I was thinking at the time, like, you can't play Kason because Kason makes these boneheaded moves all the time too, right? He'll dribble in the lane, not know what he's doing, and then try to do a wrap around and give it right back to them. And that's what Kason was doing too. I think he was going turnover for turnover with Cadeau, and then all of a sudden, LJ just steps up. And as soon as he calmed down, as soon as he just had the game coming to him, you saw it. And it's been forever, right? He's a sophomore now. He's almost halfway through his career. He's also a young sophomore. We knew that he was a law and development guy. He was a guy who was committed to FAU and was probably going to be an FAU guy who blossoms as a junior. And I think this was the first LJ Kason game where the fans got to see what Dusty May saw in this guy. Because when he calms down and the game starts coming to him, he can finish really well. He has an idea of where everybody is on the court. He has a really just feel for the game, like the moments of the game, right? You have Michigan fans like out shouting the Northwestern fans who are closer to the court. And so they're trying to they're trying to battle each other. And Northwestern hits a 3 to bring it back to, I think back to 7 at that point when Michigan was closing in, when Michigan was chopping down the lead. And what's Kason do? He just feels the moment to do a stop and set up in 3. And last year, those weren't going down. And if it didn't go down, it doesn't go down. But like the ballers know, you know what I mean? There's a thing about basketball players that they know when something's got to go down, and they just feel like it's their turn to go and do that. And it just shut the Northwestern fans up. The Michigan fans took over, and Michigan took over from there. And sometimes that's what you have to do. You just have to step up and make those shots. Speaking of
By the way, that was
Trey-
Martinelli and Kaysen trading threes. There was 8.5 to go yet, and he
Yeah,
cut it back
that
to
was-
4 on that second three. It was phenomenal stuff.
Yeah. So right there, that was the moment, right? Speaking of guys who just meet the moment, Trey McKinney is coming into his own. He's becoming a superstar. You can feel it with this guy. The way he just knocked down those free throws at the end of the game, right after like all the crap they give Northwestern, a 4-point play on another hook and hold in situation, or when Martinelli stopped and then Mara comes down on him, and don't get me started on that crap again. But like that moment, right? How do we respond? Well, we just go and hit the free throws, right? How do they respond? He goes and hits a three to go put us up, right? Just so cold, so chill. And like I know his role, LJ's role is a lot more difficult. I got to give LJ credit, because if you're going to come in and be the point guard in this team, everything's got to flow, everything's got to be smooth, and you're responsible for creating. McKinney is responsible for finishing, right? That's his job. He's got to turn, and the best we had at that was Namari, who's very good at that. Namari is a great, I'll finish a possession for you, right? But Namari, on a night where he wants to go drive, sometimes it's not really there. McKinney can if it's not there, he can turn around and just make a 2-point jumper, right? And if it is there, he's going to knock it down. And if it's, he's just such a stopper on momentum for the other team. And then you see his defense, and you're like, how is this guy a freshman? He's big, he's strong, he's got, he anticipates really well. I'm just so impressed by where he's come this year. I hope he doesn't play his way into an NBA, into a one and done, because he's going to be, he's going to be a star of the team one of the stars on the team next year. And it's really fun watching it grow as we come to the end of the season. I think he's going to have a great playoff or tournament, and I'm just really excited. So both those guys are really coming on, and having a bench is a big deal for this team, because their issues have always been okay, what happens when Cadeau's not on the court, right? Who has to create at that point? So I'm really seeing it with McKinney, and I'm glad I finally got to see it with LJ, and I hope that continues.
Yeah, we had Kyle Church on the show on Monday, our weekly visit with the basketball team, and he's not the first, but he was the most recent to talk to us about Trey McKinney essentially having the maturity of a 35-year-old when he plays basketball, which is remarkable for a freshman.
And to some extent, he has an old man's game. I mean, he's a tremendous athlete who has the sort of basketball intelligence of what you might see of a 50-year-old guy at the YMCA. And so, yeah, I'm a McKinney fan. I've been an LJ fan from minute one, and my wife has always screamed, "Get rid of that guy!" And I said, "No. This guy is really going to be a good basketball player." And I've watched him in practice a couple of times, and aside from the games, and you can see he's a guy who has definite basketball, and he hasn't even come close to scraping his ceiling.
Oh yeah, his assist rate right now is 7%.
Yeah,
he's it's minuscule. So
right.
And I think that he's got that in his game. I think he has the potential not to be he's not going to be a primary creator. He's not going to be a point guard, and that probably is going to limit his NBA potential.
Yes, he's not. But in the end,
this be a secondary
team
creator.
is going to go as far as Cadeau takes them, and that's the fact. I mean,
he's had very good bounce back, Craig. He had the 8 turnovers against Nebraska, and then he bounces back and has a good game, has a good couple of games. He is, I put it the way I wrote it in my notes, he is somewhat of an enigma because he has some really remarkable games. Yeah. He is a phenomenal shooter from the left wing in particular. I don't think he likes the corners very much. He loves the left wing, but then he has games where, in particular, he has a 5-minute run to begin the second half like he did last night, or the game like he had it against Nebraska when he had the 8 turnovers. You're just like, that's not the same Cadeau that we've seen in most of these games.
Yeah. He is a good shooter. He and Namari are probably the best 3-point shooters on the team. And when sometimes I think he doesn't take enough threes. But then the thing that drives me crazy with him is his sort of nonchalance. He's such a good player. He's such a good passer. And then all of a sudden he's doing stuff. You go, what is this? Why? And to some extent you see that with Kaysen. Kaysen is like, super aggressive, and it works sometimes, but then he gets way super aggressive, and you're going, what are you doing? He, as I think maybe one of you two guys said, he just needs to be slightly more restrained and figure out when it's time for him to do something, and when it's time for him to say, okay, I can pull this play back and let's just get the offense reset. So anyway, this has been a fun team. I guess they have the best record in the history of the program, so I guess it sure as hell should be fun. But you have to understand, Northwestern is awful. That's an awful basketball team, and I give Collins credit for being so emotionally invested in a team that's that awful. And so for us to play like that for 25 minutes is not a good thing. But for Michigan to play the way they did at the end was quite remarkable, because you're never going to see basketball better than that. So anyhow, it's interesting to say the least. And I'm saying, and the other thing that impresses me, I guess I started to say this, is how calm Dusty stays. Last night, Seth is right. There were some whoppers by the officiating crew. I mean, you're on the road, you're always going to get some. And there were some whoppers, but it wasn't as crazy as often. And Dusty's like, whatever. My team is playing for crap. We're losing to a bunch of meatballs. Am I going to be down on the floor, pounding the floor? Nah.
So
it's just who he is, and I love.
I mean, they're different guys, but also they have different teams, right?
Yeah.
You have to Michigan's team. You have to keep them focused, and I think that you keep. Morez Johnson is a very mature sophomore, an incredible basketball mind. I'm so impressed by the way he plays. But you also can see that there's there's some dog in that guy, right? And he wants, and sometimes if it starts barking, it could get you could get in trouble. So I think that when you holler at the refs a ton, you have to know that your guys are going to be smiling and being jerks about it, right? They have to be the ones letting you do it. If you have guys who are going to get really upset and take it personally, I think you do have to kind of as a coach, you have to calm down. You have to keep things level so they can keep their minds focused on the game. And I think that's the kind of guys that Michigan has, for better and worse. I think that, you look at how Izzo builds his team. He gets guys who are crafty, if you want to call them that, right?
Crafty? Okay.
Right. It's a certain kind of dude. And I'm not saying one's evil and one's good or anything like that. I'm not making moral judgments on this at all. I'm just saying there's a certain kind of guy, me, for example, who they see unfairness and they get very upset about it, right? This is the primate fairness gene, whatever it is. All of us have it, but all of us have it at different levels. And some of us, like me, will get out of sorts if it gets too bad. And I think that Michigan's got some guys like that. And I think that you need a coach who's going to stay chill, who knows to stay chill in those situations. When you have guys like that, and if you have, Martinelli is not one of those guys, right? He'll play an unfair game all day, and he'll smile at the end of it. That's always been him, and I respect that about Martinelli. We've seen that guy play for 4 years now, and he's a junker. He's a good junker. He's like he's that guy who's just gonna kill you at the Y and you'll be so mad about it, and then he'll shake your hand afterwards. And that's who he is, and that's why Collins can coach that way, is because his guys are not gonna go overboard with it. I think after he does so.
Well, if you guys want to have compare and contrast the head coaches, we can get into that when we get into the next game Michigan's going to play. As far as the personalities of the two coaches, we'll get to that. I just want to really quickly, Seth, you guys keep talking about Morez, and I just want to point out my favorite set in the entire game, the favorite back-to-back plays the entire game last night, was when Morez has that massive block on one end, the ball stays in bounds, and then he runs the floor and he receives an alley-oop pass for a dunk. It cut it to 60-58 at that point. It was part of Michigan's 14-2 run that cut it to 2, and then eventually they go on another run. But I just love watching that kid on the defensive end, turning it to offense. And yeah, you said he's just a sophomore. It's fun stuff. Anything else from last night's game before we move forward?
No, I mean, the season's been so much fun that I've just been obsessing about, oh, next year we're not going to have any of these guys, right? And it's the nature of the college game, particularly now. I'd love to see another year of Mraz and Mara, but I don't think we're going to see another year of either one of them, and we're essentially going to be starting all over.
We're talking to some NBA guys now, and that's not necessarily true.
Okay.
First of all, Yaxel's money's coming off the books. Second of all,
Yeah.
what these guys would make at Michigan next year is comparable to what a low first rounder would make.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's where they are probably.
Yeah, and are either one of them starting? So like at that, where both of them are, and I think Mara might move up a little bit because everybody can see everyone sees it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you have a decent chance of getting Mraz back, especially with the way Michigan's going to pay him. And I think that would be, you add a couple more guys. You're not going to have Namari, but you're not going to have Gale. But those guys have kind of fallen back a bit. Where we're seeing a lot more Trey McKinney take on both those guys' role. And Roddy this game, I mean, there was one time he dribbles under the basket. He's got the ball, that just go up and get it, right? And I'm sure everyone said to him, because Roddy is this way. Roddy is just a cool dude, right? He's just like, everyone says to Roddy afterwards, why did you dunk that? Why didn't you go up? Why'd you turn around? It ends up being a turnover on a turnaround. So what does he do the next time they drop an opportunity to get him in that position, and he puts it down? I think that you're going to miss Gale more when you realize, not because of his on-court. On the court, he's terrible lately. His defense is good. On the court, the offense, he's a black hole on offense. But the way the guys all respond to him is great. I think you're going to miss Roddy in his leadership, at least.
Yeah, I hear that. It's hard. Basketball is all synergy. How do guys fit together? Who do you have as a team leader, if any? Who, how do they respect each other? How do they play together? It's all this synergy, and you can never tell. You guys don't remember this, but Michigan had a team way, way back after being the worst team in the Big Ten. I'm not kidding, for 14 years. Michigan might have been last place for 14 years in a row, from like 48 to 62. And in the 60s, they had this team that came in with all these high school All-Americans. There was a big center named Ken Brady, who was a near 7-footer, who was back then the version of a 5-star. And they had these other guys. They were terrible. Because they didn't play together. They had individual talent, and maybe it was coaching, or maybe they just didn't play together. But I don't know. But they got beat by teams that were much inferior in terms of talent. So basketball synergy is a whole lot. And then, of course, maybe one of my favorite all-time teams, the Ricky Green, Phil Hubbard teams, they had nothing. They had a 6'7" center and 4 guys between 6 foot and 6'2". And they were better than everybody except Indiana, who won the national championship that year and didn't lose, except Michigan actually did beat them at Bloomington. And that was Indiana scored on a shot, 5 seconds after the buzzer to put the game into overtime. And of course, back then there's no review, there's nothing. So yeah, let them score 5 seconds after the game is over and we'll count it. But that team, man, did they have synergy. They were fast, they were together. They had 6 total players. Played 5 guys and 1 guy, Dave Baxter, was a freshman off the bench. And it was an amazing team. And so basketball is that. And this team has that. This year's Michigan team really does have that level of synergy to be as good as their talents are. And their talents are profound.
We have more to we got to take a break here, guys. We'll obviously continue this conversation during the break on YouTube and on elsewhere online, and of course we're back on the radio on the other side of the break here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at thebig1050.com.
Boy, I can't tell you how good those.
All right, I got to go back and find. We had a comment in here earlier. I should have marked it. It was hilarious. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Wasn't mine, was it?
No. Sith bartender, thank you for this one. Chris Collins has been a crybaby his whole life. I made him cry on court when I found him when he was 8 years old. I remember he popped in my head the first time I saw him last night. So Scott follows up and he says, "Did Duke offer him a scholarship on the spot?" And there was a follow-up to that. I got to find the follow-up. There's one more follow-up to that if I can find it here.
I know. I wonder if that's the Scott. There's 2 Scott Childers, but
Oh, here we go. And then, yes, here's the follow-up. Yes, Coach K was sitting there on the playground with paper in hand.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Great stuff. Keep the comments coming. Love it.
I mean, I don't mind him that much. Do you mind Collins that much? I find him more amusing than anything. I mean,
he's not as bad as some of the other guys in the Big Ten. I mean, Mick Cronin is. I mean, he's hilarious.
Mick
I love
Cronin
it.
is
I love it. He's
funny.
hilarious. I might go to his post. I've never been at. I don't think at Chrysler once. I've been to a post game presser for the visiting coach, and I might go on Saturday.
Of course you would, because he's so crazy and he's wacky as hell. He's funny. So
this is the thing about Mick Cronin. He has the softest team in the Big Ten. This is a 5-out team. They take fewer shots at the rim than almost anybody. I think they 6% fewer than any other team in the conference. He went and got Donovan Dent out of the portal as his point guard. Sky Clark's been injured, but Tyler Bilodeau, he kept that guy and went and got Xavier Booker instead of Adai. So he got smaller, and he was already a small ball team. And then he hollers at them for not being Tom Izzo players. It's insane. And that's why I love this guy. He is hilarious. He thinks that he's got a remember I was talking about there's some guys who just are the people who just who want to see some clean basketball and just want to get out there and play and get upset when things are being called wrong and whatnot. And other guys are just they thrive in the muck. His guys are not muck guys. But he acts like they are. He acts like they're just he screams at them for not being great. He hates them. He hates Tyler Bilodeau. You recruited that guy.
He hates everybody he recruits, pretty much.
You made him a center. You made him a big. And then he goes get Xavier Booker. We all saw Xavier Booker from Michigan State. You want that guy to make you gritty? That guy instead of Mara?
And you a bad name, by the way.
I know that's an insult. We
UCLA fans are "Oh, we tampered with Mara." Mara wanted out of there so bad. Bad.
My favorite one is they were complaining that he screwed them over because he went into the portal at a late date. Except the portal opened on March 24th. He entered the portal on March 31st. The portal closed April 22nd. He's just an angry man, and he's got guys that follow his lead. Totally unrelated. Real quick, we're gonna get back to Mara. I just want to answer this real quick. We got this question from Coach Curry. Winner's grade is on the injured list for the year. He's out, but I did see him along with Will Cheddar, Oscar Goodman, and Charlie May at the Michigan State hockey game Friday night. So there was that site. He was there.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what happens with winner's grading? Michigan is bringing in a lot of wings that are freshmen right now, and they brought one in yesterday or 2 days ago. 6'8" guy. I can't tell you his name right off the top, but he's a top 50 player. But he's has a knee injury. It wouldn't stun me if that kid just rehabs, and because he's
a redshirt candidate. He's a redshirt candidate.
Yeah, he's probably. I mean, because he's hurt, but he's a top 50. They moved him from the 27 to 26. My guess is next year he'll just be rehabbing and learning. But they still have a couple other guys who are like 2-3s. And so I don't know
Lincoln
what the
Cosby,
plan
by
is.
the way, is his name.
Yeah, Lincoln Cosby. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So I don't know, the one guy of the freshman class who seems most likely to me is because he may or may not be a need is Quinn Costello, who I thought was not recruited by Michigan State, but he was. Michigan State did offer Quinn Costello, which still makes me wonder if he's any relative to the Costello who was a really nice player. I think he was from Bay City, who played at Michigan State, another big guy. This guy is 6'10" and can shoot the ball, plays in Massachusetts, but
back in 30, guys.
I don't know. He's not strong enough yet, but in a year, maybe he can be strong enough. But he's a nice basketball player, probably a top 50, 60 guy also in this class.
I mean, Dusty realizes Dusty knows what's expensive in the portal era and what he can get in the portal era.
Yeah.
And I think that he wants his own wings so that, like, you have those guys to fall back on. And I think he wants to develop his own bigs and then be able to go and replace in the portal. I don't know why he wants his point guards in the portal, but that's what he thinks he can find, I guess.
Stand by, guys.
Brighton Ford is the ultimate destination for your new Ford, folks. Head right in and settle into the seat of your favorite vehicle. Get in, take control, and drive off the lot in a car or truck that was meant for you. Go to Brighton Ford, call 1-800-NEW-FORD, or go online at brightonford.com and take advantage of huge savings and experience unparalleled service before and after the sale. Call 1-800-NEW-FORD today. Brighton Ford, the official Ford sponsor of the Big 1050 WTKA.
All right, we're back here on the Michigan Insider online and on the radio. Seth Fisher, Craig Ross are joining me here. Sam will be back. He is on vacation. He'll be back in the air chair next week following our President's Day weekend. We are getting ready now for Michigan's next matchup in basketball, which is Michigan UCLA on Valentine's Day. Who doesn't love Mick Cronin? Come on, now what a perfect guy to have in town on Valentine's Day. We love Mick.
I love Mick Cronin. I love Mick Cronin.
He doesn't love a die.
I mean, he's completely honest, and he always tells the truth. I am the greatest coach in the history of basketball. Maybe not pro basketball, but I'm the greatest coach in the history of college basketball. And the reason I ever lose a game is because my players stink. I mean, that's what you need to know about Mick Cronin. I mean, you have to sort of admire that in its own sort of perverse, crazy way.
We talked about this in the break when we were allowed to swear more, but he is this it's the funny thing is he builds the team that he would not want to coach.
Right. The softest team ever.
The soft I don't want to say soft because everyone turns it into like a they're not tough and whatnot. But they're not. That's not who these guys are. They're a 5-out team that wins big and loses big because they take a ton of jump shots, right? They do not get to the rim, this team, and they don't get to the rim because Xavier Booker is your new center. You had a Daimara and you ran that guy out of town. And I think it's hilarious. UCLA fans are like, oh, you came and tampered with Mara. Mara tampered with Michigan. Mara was like, get me out of here. Get me away from this crazy little bald-headed gnome. This dude is just so mad all the time.
What are you saying about short, bald-headed guys? What? You can't comment on short, bald-headed guys. I can, okay? Let's just let that clear.
He's so mad about this team that he recruited and he built. And every single time he loses, you're just like, oh, it's just so terrible that I have to play with these guys. These all money. And then, like, he beats Rutgers, and he's like, it's so terrible that, like, Pike's such a good coach, but I get to have better players than him because we're UCLA. And he was setting up his complaint. He's been building to complain about how much Michigan spent in the portal this year. That's going to be his complaint. But Michigan went and got Mara because Mara wanted to get the heck out of there because he was sick of playing for this dude. And what does UCLA do? They take a lot of shots. They just take a lot of jump shots. And sometimes they go in and sometimes they don't go in. But, like, they really kind of need Donovan Dent creating for them. That's the point guard. He was like the number 4 guy in the portal. So it's not like they didn't spend. They got the number 4 guy in the portal on the 247 composite. And then they play 5 out with guys who can and can't shoot. They're really weird. Like, I was looking at their 3-point percentages, and Dent's shooting 20%. He's a career 32. He was 40% last year. Sky Clark, who's been injured, but I think he might be back for our game. He's a 39% career shooter. Shot that around that last year. Has been shooting 49% this year. Eric Daly, you remember recruiting that guy?
Yeah.
Like, they turned Eric Daly into a shooter last year. He was 38% last year, still a 33% shooter, but he's only 26% this year. He's still like one of those guys willing to tape it when it's open, but they're a 5-out team, so everyone kind of has to. Tyler Bilodeau, he's at 45%. He's the only one kind of even within range of his normal. He's normally 39%. And then Xavier Booker's hitting 46% this year on fairly decent volume. He's a 23% shooter last year. So it's just like you see those numbers, and I'm just like, this is a random number generator. especially because when Sky Clark's in there, all they're going to do is just take 2-point jumpers because everyone runs them off the line and they'll shoot there instead. When he's not in there, they're just having Trent Perry, who's their sixth man. I think he's a sophomore. They just have that guy. He was a 5-star, and he just drives. But it's like it's just a very high variance system. It's not like they're running a system. It's not like Cronin came in and like it's Tom Izzo, where like he drilled this system and brought these guys up and like created the gritty Tom Izzo team that Tom Izzo is going to go play with, right? Jeremy Fears is a perfect fit for Tom Izzo because no one else was everyone else would everyone else would just like scale that back on that thing. And Izzo is like, no, go out and try to injure as many guys as possible. Please, I'll back you up and I'll complain about it afterwards. Cronin went and got like a team that John Beilein would think is soft, and then he just complains about it all the time. It's incredible. Brian's got this Mick Cronin do crimes watch, and I think we're heading towards it now. And I wish Brian was here because I'm sure he was looking forward to this week all year. We are ramping up. Here we go. Valentine's Day, the love is going to pour out of this man.
Did you guys see his press conference yesterday? He had his media avail yesterday. He did address the Sky Clark thing, and he was talking about that he hasn't stacked practices together yet. He was very elusive in answering if Sky Clark was going to play. But he was asked what it's going to be like to go against a die. He says, another game, buddy. That's life in the portal. And then he goes off on this whole thing about it would hit him in the emotions going against Cincinnati, but he said, but no answer about a die. Then he's followed up. The follow-up question is a die playing on a different level or doing the same thing he did here? And he goes, tough to say. I'm scouting Michigan. I'm not scouting a die, my friend. You know he's older. I mean, you have to ask Dusty May stuff like that. I don't see him every day. Seth, how do you scout if you don't watch their best big man in the middle, the defensive player? Like, how do you not know this? He was also asked, somebody said, it seems like a die is playing on a high level. And then his answer was, that would be your opinion. Obviously, you better not let him catch and dunk it. He's probably not going to miss that. He's always been a good passer. But that's about it. He has, man, that guy is salty. He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's completely wacky.
Cronin doesn't actually impact me. Hold on.
But,
okay, thanks, Doc.
But I don't find him offensive in the slightest. I just find him crazy as hell and funny. So anyway, that's
they're five. If they're going to play 5 out, they got Sky Clark. Here's the problem with them: is when they don't have Sky in there, they don't have the perimeter defense to play that they want to. And if Michigan, if you can big them up, they're done, right? Bilodeau is soft. You're just going to push that guy around. Then he'll holler at him all he can, but Bilodeau is not going to change who he is, right? So of course he's watching them because he needs to know whether Mara is going to be able to defend his team the way that they're going to play, because they're going to try to play them 5 out. They're going to try to switch around. They're going to try to get some guards on Mara and have it and drive and pull him out of the paint. And Michigan's going to have to keep up down low. And I hate playing these kinds of teams because we're a front runner now, and you pull Mara out, that takes away like the best part of Michigan's 2-point defense, which is the best part of their defense. And you also force Michigan to have to keep up by just getting down to the rim and bigging them down. And that just creates a lot of randomness, right? Like we're going to have our high percentage passes or low percentage passes to get high percentage looks. And they're going to be taking, mid-percentage threes all the time, and if a bunch of them go down and you're all of a sudden in a really big game, it's like one of those things that can swing things. So I don't like UCLA as a matchup at all. I'm sure he's watching Mara because he's got to know whether he can play against him and what he's going to do. Guys,
come on. He's watching Mara because I'm pretty convinced that he doesn't actually care if he wins or loses the game on Saturday, as long as the die Mara is not the guy that beat him.
He wants to take Mara off the court.
I look poor. Like he's going to go at him. He's going to do whatever. He's not going. He's going to double him. He's going to whatever. He's going to be like, no, a guy is not beating me. That guy is not good enough to beat me. He's not going to care about anything else.
I don't think so. I think he wants to take him off. I think what he wants to do is spread things out. He's going to, for all of his talk. I mean, if he comes in and wants to play bully ball with him and double him in the post, Mara's a great passer out of the post, and Michigan's going to have some shooters around him. What he wants to do is put him on the perimeter and keep him out there. And force Michigan to not be able to play him very much. I think that's what he's looking to do. I think he wants to turn Michigan into UCLA and then go to town. And he's got guys, like I said, like there's so much randomness in the way that they play because they're going to take shots, right? And then in the Big Ten, sometimes they'll just let you get away with whatever you want to do on rebounds, like Northwestern yesterday, or the Penn State game, or every other game that the same official. It like that can happen, but I don't think it's randomness. You look at it from outside, and you're like, okay, 80% Michigan wins. Internally, it's just like you add this randomness to it, and I think that the part of the randomness is they want to pull Mara off the court. Now, if Mara's going strong to the net, and it's a home game, and like he's played better at home, and Michigan is getting those open looks for him, it's over. They're not going to be able to keep up with 80% shooting at the rim.
Ira, we only have a minute, I think, or so.
Yep, last couple of minutes here. Yep.
And I'd like to talk a bit about women's basketball.
All right, we got a minute. Go ahead.
And I was
Speaking of UCLA,
unbelievably impressed with Michigan and UCLA. Obviously, UCLA can win a national championship. They're certainly, going to be in the Final Four and pressing for it. They have Lauren Betts is an incredible center, and they've got Jacquez, who I assume is the sister of
it is
of the Jacquez, who was a nice player at UCLA. And then they have this, is her name Kimmy Fox?
No, Kiki Rice.
Kiki Rice. Sorry.
Yeah, Kiki Rice. She was terrific in that game.
She is a basketball player. But
they're a veteran. They have a veteran backcourt. They have a veteran. The best big is in the the country is a veteran. They're a very veteran team.
That's a really good
team hung with them.
And for the third time this year, Michigan against the top team, against UConn, against Vanderbilt, Michigan had the ball down 2 or 3 on the last possession and couldn't connect. That's pretty damn good for a team that has really not much, really doesn't, they don't have a lot of size.
And they're young. So we are out of time, guys. Unfortunately, I know you wanted to get that. We just.
I just wanted to make your bunnies, girls, make your bunnies. It's so close.
Big game for the women coming up on Sunday. They're retiring Naz Tillman's jersey. The game on Sunday is against Michigan State. It's amazing. There's a few tickets remaining. We want to pack that place. So there is that as well. Next week on the show, we're going to be talking about Michigan Purdue, which is next Tuesday. We'll recap this Michigan UCLA game as well. We'll talk some Michigan hockey then as well. Hopefully we'll have some time for that. Guys, appreciate it. Appreciate time as always. Thanks to Bonnie Fo for joining me early in the show as well. Thanks to my guy Mitch for being here on the other side of the glass. And we'll see everybody tomorrow on the Michigan Insight.